How is that?
Very, very good.
On the surface, we might all seem alike. But look closer, and you'll find something extraordinary in each of us. Some embrace their differences with pride. Others keep them tucked away. But life only gives us one shot. And the people you're about to meet used theirs to turn those differences into superpowers. They don't just stand out. They shatter expectations, rewrite the rules, and force the world to rethink what's possible. Let's jump in and celebrate the fearless, the bold, and the unforgettable. Number 25. Zion Clark. Zion Zachariah Clark was born without legs, but that never stopped him from running. Born in Columbus, Ohio, on September 29, 1997, Zion came into the world with caudal regression syndrome, a rare condition that left his spine cut short at the waist. At just 3 feet 2 inches tall, he grew up in the foster care system, bouncing from house to house, until a loving adoptive mom and a wrestling coach changed everything.
I knew that we could come up with something to make him successful.
Give me a Z. Z, you got your Z, you got your Z. I am proud. I'm his #1 cheerleader.
They taught him one rule: no excuses. He tattooed those exact words across his shoulders and started chasing the impossible. On February 15, 2021, he raced down a 66-foot track on his hands in just 4.78 seconds, earning a Guinness World Record for the fastest 20-meter hand sprint. Then, in Los Angeles, he hand-leapt nearly 3 feet off the ground onto a plyo box, breaking another record in October 2022. That December, Zion entered the MMA cage and beat able-bodied fighter Eugene Murray by unanimous decision. He's also sprinting toward the 2028 Paralympics, aiming to qualify for wheelchair track and Olympic wrestling. In between, he gives talks, mentors kids, and stars in Netflix's Emmy-winning documentary, Zion. Number 24. Lindsay Hilton. 5 seconds into a gym video shot in Halifax, viewers couldn't believe what they were seeing. A young woman was knocking out ring pull-ups, but she had no arms or legs. That clip of Lindsay Hilton, posted in 2016, blew up overnight, racking up over 7 million views in just 2 days. Born in 1991 without all 4 limbs, Lindsay never wanted pity.
I'm trying to step up my game.
By 9th grade, she was tackling opponents on a rugby field and later became a high school rugby coach. At CrossFit On-Side, she created her own adaptive gear using chains, Velcro, and hooks, so she could power clean 100 pounds, about the same as her body weight. She crushed workouts with burpees, wall balls, and even kipping pull-ups like every other athlete. In January 2017, her hard work paid off. She placed in the top 5 globally for the adaptive seated RX division at Miami's Wodapalooza, all while training 4 days a week and working full-time. She stepped up to the box for 50 reps and finished 20 handstand push-ups, landing 3rd in her heat. Today, she still deadlifts 135 pounds, swims laps, and speaks at schools, always proving that excuses don't win medals.
How is that?
Very, very good.
Number 23. Michel Lotito. Michel Lotito didn't just have a strange appetite, he had the most industrial diet on Earth. Born in Grenoble, France, he began eating metal at age 9 to satisfy a rare form of pica, a disorder where people crave non-food items. But Michel took it to extremes. He ground metal into small shards, washed it down with mineral oil and up to 2 quarts of water, and never got hurt.
He's actually decided to chop up this car and eat a car. The man is now eating, these are pieces of metal cut from the car.
Doctors later discovered his stomach lining was twice as thick as normal, allowing him to digest almost 2 pounds of metal every single day. Between 1978 and 1980, he pulled off the unthinkable. He ate an entire Cessna 150 airplane, over 1,600 pounds of aluminum, rubber, and glass. By 1997, Michel had consumed over 9 tons of metal, including 18 bicycles, 15 shopping carts, 7 TVs, 6 chandeliers, 2 beds, a steel coffin, and even the Guinness plaque he earned for doing it all. Strangely, he said soft foods like bananas upset his stomach more than nails. He performed live across French television until 2007, when he passed away at 57. In a world full of don'ts, Michel Lotito was the guy who literally could eat anything. Number 22. Slavisa Pajkic. Slavisa Pajkic, better known as Battery Man, has spent decades doing what should be impossible, channeling thousands of volts through his body like it's nothing. His story started at 17, when he grabbed a live television wire and didn't flinch. Instead of pain, all he felt was a slight warmth. Doctors later discovered that his sweat glands barely function, meaning his skin stays extremely dry, one of the key reasons he doesn't get burned by electricity. In 1983, he set his first Guinness World Record by passing 20,000 volts through his body without injury. Then lit up a fluorescent bulb just by holding it. Years later, he went even further. Using a standard wall socket, Pajkic sent current through his hands to heat 8 ounces of water from room temperature to 206.6 degrees Fahrenheit in just 97 seconds. That feat earned him another world record. One of his favorite stunts is what he calls the 6-second barbecue. He sticks a sausage on a fork, runs electricity through it, and watches it sizzle while sparks shoot across his fingers. Now in his 60s and standing 6 feet tall, Pajkic still performs around the world, proving that electricity isn't always the enemy, if you truly understand how it flows. Number 21. Jessica Cox. Jessica Cox was born without arms, but that never held her back. Raised in Tucson, Arizona, she found ways to do everything with her feet: tie her shoes, type, brush her hair, and eventually fly a plane. At 25, she became the first person in history to earn a pilot's license using only her feet. Her aircraft, a 1946 Airco Air Coupe, doesn't have rudder pedals, but that doesn't mean it's easy. To take off, Jessica has to push the throttle and pull the yoke with her right foot.
I would have my right foot right here on the yoke and my left foot here on the throttle. And I'm using my big toe to push on the push-to-talk switch.
Lifting off at 55 miles per hour and climbing to 5,500 feet over the desert. In October 2008, Guinness officially named her the first licensed pilot to fly with no hands. But Jessica doesn't stop at flying. She's a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo, can break pine boards with her heels, drives a regular car with only a steering knob, and has scuba dived to 60 feet. She graduated from the University of Arizona with a psychology degree and founded Right-Footed Foundation International, traveling to 77 countries to speak on resilience. At Dubai's Accessibilities Expo, she removed her shoes on stage and signed autographs with a Sharpie between her toes. Her next goal is to fly an electric plane coast to coast to raise awareness. Number 20. Daniel Kish. Daniel Kish lost both eyes to cancer before he turned 1, but that never stopped him from living life on his own terms. In Los Angeles, you might catch him riding a mountain bike through traffic, confidently navigating the streets using nothing but sound. He clicks his tongue twice every second. And those echoes bounce back to create a detailed mental sound picture. It's called human echolocation, and it's so sharp that Kish can detect a parked van from 26 feet away or grab a basketball right off the rim. He graduated with honors in psychology and later became the first completely blind person to earn certification as an orientation and mobility specialist. In 2000, he launched World Access for the Blind and has since trained more than 500 people across 40 countries. He's helped Pixar design Daredevil's movements and has been studied in MRI scanners for how his brain rewires itself. But Kish isn't just about labs and lectures. He hikes canyons, tunes car engines by sound, and sinks three-pointers on the court. His motto is simple but powerful. Don't just navigate the world, own it. And he's been doing exactly that. Number 19. Kim Peek. Kim Peek didn't just read books, he absorbed them. Born on November 11, 1951 in Salt Lake City, Kim was diagnosed with major brain abnormalities, including the absence of a corpus callosum, the part that connects the left and right hemispheres. Doctors said he'd never learn. Instead, he memorized the entire World Almanac by age 16. Over the course of his life, he read and retained about 12,000 books, from the complete works of Shakespeare to every U.S. zip code, and even entire phone directories. He could read 2 pages at once, his left eye reading the left page, right eye reading the right, in about 10 seconds. Ask him about July 4th, 1776, and he'd rattle off the day of the week, news headlines, and baseball stats.
Kim, my birth date is January 31st, 1979.
It was a Wednesday, and this year it's a Saturday. We turned 2044 on a Sunday.
In 2004, brain scans revealed unusual neural superhighways connecting the hemispheres, reshaping how researchers understood memory and neuroplasticity. He spent over 20 years touring libraries with his father Fran, opening each event with a flawless piano version of Stars and Stripes Forever. Actor Dustin Hoffman shadowed him to prepare for Rain Man, modeling the character Raymond Babbitt after Kim. He passed away in 2009 at 58, but scientists still study his unmatched memory to this day. Number 18. Stig Severinsen. Stig Severinsen swims under ice in nothing but trunks, completely calm, as if cold doesn't exist. The Danish freediver, who also holds a PhD in medicine and a master's in biology, uses yoga techniques and scientific knowledge to slow his heart down to just 18 beats per minute before diving. In May 2012, he inhaled pure oxygen, entered a 30-degree Fahrenheit tank, and held his breath for 22 full minutes, a Guinness World Record that's longer than most TV episodes.
7, 8, 9, 22 minutes.
But that's not all. In 2010, he swam 236 feet under a frozen lake wearing only Speedos, breaking the world record by nearly 50 feet. Then, in 2013, he smashed his own mark by swimming 500 feet with a monofin. He's won 4 world titles in freediving, written a best-selling book called breatheology with over 250,000 copies sold, and now trains Navy SEALs and pro athletes to tap into their natural breath control. Even at 60, Severinsen is still pushing boundaries, recently teaming up with a robotics group to develop VR-based apnea training that helps anyone experience the power of a single breath. Number 17. Anthony Loffredo. Anthony Loffredo isn't trying to look human. He's trying to become something entirely different. Known worldwide for his Black Alien project, this Frenchman began transforming himself at age 26. Since then, he's covered his entire body in black tattoos, had his eyeballs inked, then split his tongue, and inserted silicone horns under his skin. But it doesn't stop there. He's also removed both ears, his upper lip, the tip of his nose, and even 2 fingers. His transformation has cost more than $110,000, with most of the work done in Mexico and Spain, since French law bans these kinds of extreme procedures. Anthony once said he was 46% complete, and even considered amputating a healthy leg to replace it with a carbon fiber prosthetic. But in late 2023, he paused everything. He said the project had started to lose meaning, and now he focuses on scar art, carefully designed lines carved into his face. His Instagram has more than 1.4 million followers, where fans and critics watch his journey unfold. Some call him grotesque. Others see living art. But Anthony says each cut isn't for show. It's a step toward becoming the creature he's always seen in the mirror. Number 16. Daniel Tammet. For Daniel Tammet, numbers are more than just math. They're alive. Born in London and diagnosed with high-functioning autism and synesthesia, Tammet doesn't calculate like most people. He sees numbers as colors, textures, and emotions. To him, 3 is a little green pebble, 11 feels like a tall friend, and the digits of pi form a landscape that flows like water. On March 14, 2004, he recited pi to 22,514 decimal places from memory, without a single mistake. The entire event lasted 5 hours and 9 minutes, and set a European record.
34690 Finished, yeah.
But Daniel's talent goes far beyond numbers. That same year, an Icelandic TV station challenged him to learn their notoriously difficult language in just 1 week. 7 days later, he gave a live interview entirely in Icelandic, shocking fluent speakers. Today, he speaks at least 11 languages, including one he invented called Menti. His memoir, Born on a Blue Day, became a global bestseller, and his brain has been studied in California and London to understand how his neural pathways crosstalk so efficiently. In his spare time, he paints the numbers he sees, raising money for epilepsy charities, paying tribute to the seizures that, he says, first unlocked his remarkable inner world. Number 15. Sam Berns. Sam Berns was dealt one of the rarest and cruelest conditions on Earth, Hutchinson-Gilford progeria. Born on October 23, 1996 in Rhode Island, his body aged 8 times faster than normal. By age 10, he stood 4 feet tall, weighed just 45 pounds, and already ran fundraisers with his parents, both doctors, to support a brand new organization, the Progeria Research Foundation. But it wasn't just medical progress he chased. In a 7-minute TEDx talk that's now past 100 million views, Sam laid out a mindset that still echoes. Focus on what you can do. That message hit so hard, it made him the New England Patriots honorary captain in January 2014. Sadly, Sam passed away the night before that game at just 17. But the real victory came later. Because of the research he helped spark, the FDA approved the first drug that slows progeria, lonafarnib, in 2020. It gives kids with the disease about 2.5 extra years to live. Sam's not here to see it, but every birthday those kids celebrate is part of his legacy. Number 14. Gary Turner. Gary Stretch Turner from Lincolnshire, England, isn't a comic book character, but his body feels like one. Thanks to a severe form of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, his skin behaves more like rubber than flesh. On October 29, 1999 in Los Angeles, he pulled the skin on his belly out 6.25 inches, longer than a dollar bill.
That's 14.2 centimeters.
That's unbelievable. A new Guinness World Record for the world stretches skin, Gary Turner.
Earning him the Guinness World Record for stretchiest skin. And he didn't stop there. Doctors have watched him clip bulldog clamps to his neck, hang soda cans from them, and watch his skin snap right back into place. But Gary didn't want to be just a medical case study. He wanted to perform. He joined the Circus of Horrors and the royal family of strange people, folding his face like a pancake one night and sewing his eyelids shut the next. He leans into the shock, but never forgets the science behind it. Ehlers-Danlos makes his joints fragile. One wrong move and they could dislocate. That's why every wild stunt ends with the same message. Being different isn't dangerous if you know how to respect the body you live in. Number 13. Joe Cameron. Joe Cameron once leaned on a hot stove and didn't flinch. She only noticed something was wrong when she smelled burning flesh. Now, 77, this grandmother from the Scottish Highlands lives with a condition so rare it's only been documented in a few people on Earth. Her DNA carries unique mutations in 2 genes, FAAA and FAH, that completely shut off her pain signals. She doesn't need morphine after surgery, doesn't feel cuts or burns, and heals almost twice as fast as most people. Doctors first noticed something strange in 2013 when she refused painkillers after a hip replacement and described her discomfort as a 2 out of 10. Genetic testing revealed that her blood had double the usual levels of anandamide, the body's natural version of THC. But Joe's gift doesn't stop at her nerves. She also scores 0 for anxiety and depression in psychological tests and recalls staying completely calm during a 70-mile-per-hour car spin. Scientists are now using her genetic blueprint with CRISPR technology, trying to engineer non-addictive painkillers. Meanwhile, Joe spends her days gardening barefoot, nicking herself on rose thorns she never feels. She laughs about it now, saying, "If pain never rings the alarm, you learn to rely on common sense, or a very loud kitchen timer." Number 12. Abul Bajandar. By the time Abul Bajandar turned 25, his hands looked more like tree roots than anything human. He wasn't born this way. Growing up in Khulna, Bangladesh, Abul drove a rickshaw to support his family. But he also carried a rare genetic disorder called epidermodysplasia verruciformis. It allows a common virus to trigger thick, bark-like growths all over the skin. His hands became so overgrown they weighed 11 pounds each, so heavy and stiff he couldn't even lift his 1-year-old daughter. In 2016, surgeons at Dhaka Medical College launched 16 separate operations to cut away the growths and give Abul his fingers back. For a moment, it worked. But by 2019, the condition returned with a vengeance. New branches of growth erupted, pushing his surgery count past 25. In a heartbreaking interview, he begged doctors to amputate both hands just so he could finally sleep. Only about 200 people on Earth live with this condition, and no treatment offers a permanent fix. Laser removal, retinoids, nothing holds. These days, Abul shuffles between hospitals and home. And back home, his daughter draws pictures of them holding hands like any other father and child. He says those drawings cut deeper than any scalpel ever could. Number 11. Nick Vujicic. Nick Vujicic was born in Melbourne on December 4, 1982, without arms or legs, a condition known as tetra amelia. But from the moment he learned to flip himself upright as a toddler, Nick refused to be defined by what he didn't have.
You're a bit crazy!
At 23, he founded Life Without Limbs, and by 2024, he had spoken to over 733 million people in 78 countries. His goal is to inspire 1 billion people by 2028. Audiences don't just hear him, they watch him surf 8-foot Hawaiian waves, skydive from 12,000 feet, and score goals using a carbon fiber foot strapped to his hip. On stage, he spins himself in full circles using just his head and invites kids to high-five the tiny foot on his left torso. Offstage, he lives in Texas with his wife Kane and their 4 kids, while also crowdfunding a feature documentary he's set to hit 1,500 U.S. theaters in October 2025. He co-hosts anti-bullying rallies in NBA arenas, challenging students to write down 3 things they can do instead of what they can't. Number 10. Paul Karason. Paul Karason looked like an ordinary Californian until he started turning blue. In the early 1990s, he began drinking 10 ounces of homemade colloidal silver every day and rubbing it on his face, hoping to ease acid reflux and skin problems. But over time, the silver built up in his body, causing a condition called argyria. Slowly, his skin turned deep blue-violet, from his scalp to the soles of his feet. Paul didn't hide from the spotlight. In 2008, he appeared on NBC's Today Show, smiling and joking about his nickname, Papa Smurf, and claiming the silver helped with his aching joints. Even after heart surgery, he carried a silver ion generator and mason jars from place to place, refusing to quit. He smoked heavily and had chronic heart issues, and in September 23, 2013, he died after suffering a heart attack, pneumonia, and a stroke. But his story didn't fade. To this day, doctors still use his case as a warning, proof that so-called miracle cures can have serious consequences. Number 9. Kim Goodman. Kim Goodman didn't plan on breaking any world records. She was just goofing off at a Halloween party when someone jokingly tapped her forehead with a hockey mask. The pressure jolted something loose, and her eyes suddenly bulged forward like cartoon springs. But this wasn't a one-time gag. It became her new normal. Doctors later measured her eye projection at exactly 12 millimeters, or about 0.47 inches beyond the socket edge. That leap earned her a Guinness World Record in Istanbul on November 2, 2007, and no one's topped it since. Kim can hold the pose for up to 10 seconds before her eyes blink back into place. It even happens on its own when she yawns. She performed her pop trick on The Late Show with David Letterman, CNN's Ripley's Believe It or Not, and during halftime at a Chicago Bulls game where she reflected a flashlight off her exposed sclera. Doctors found nothing wrong, just shallow eye sockets and strong muscles pulling her eyeballs like elastic. Guinness named her one of its top 10 WOW record holders of all time. And when people ask if it hurts, she laughs and says, only when she sneezes mid-pop. Number 8. Anastasia Pokreshchuk. Anastasia Pokreshchuk wasn't born with standout features, so she made her own. The Kyiv-based influencer took her first swing at facial sculpting at age 26 after falling down an online rabbit hole of cosmetic tutorials. Her focus? Cheeks. Nearly a decade later, she's added over half a pint, roughly 35 fluid ounces, of hyaluronic gel into her face and calls herself the woman with the biggest cheeks on earth. Her look is unmistakable. Cheekbones the size of apples, a jawline frozen in Botox, lips plumped to match. She estimates she's spent at least $2,700 on her cheeks alone. While her transformation includes veneers and other procedures, her face is what turns heads. Surgeons have warned about long-term nerve damage, but Anastasia isn't fazed. She even mixes her own microdoses, calling it her version of painting. Since 2020, her follower count has exploded from 22,000 to over 440,000. A documentary about her called Hooked on the Look has racked up over 12 million views. Online, trolls call her alien, but brands chase her for beauty sponsorships. Number 7. Diana Armstrong. Diana Armstrong hasn't cut her nails since 1997, and the reason goes far beyond style. That year, her 16-year-old daughter, Letitia, died unexpectedly from an asthma attack. The two used to paint each other's nails on the living room floor, and when Letitia passed, Diana couldn't bring herself to trim them. What started as grief became something else, a tribute that never stopped growing. By March 2022, her fingernails measured a staggering 42 feet, 10.4 inches combined, longer than a school bus. Guinness officially crowned her the record holder for longest nails on a pair of hands. Maintaining them is a family project.
Diana Armstrong, congratulations. You are officially amazing.
Every 4 to 5 years, Diana lies across her couch while her grandkids brush on about 15 bottles of polish. The process takes 4 full days. Everyday tasks are no longer simple. She uses her feet to pick things up and taps her phone with a knuckle while people around her stare. She once thought about trimming them, but says it would feel like cutting away the last part of Letitia she still has. Number 6. Dennis Avner. For Dennis Avner, looking human wasn't enough, so he spent over $200,000 to look like a tiger. Born in Flint, Michigan on August 27, 1958, the former Navy sonar technician believed his soul was tied to a tiger, a belief rooted in his Wyandotte heritage. But instead of just honoring that spirit, he decided to become it. Working with body mod pioneer Steve Haworth and following Arizona laws that banned anesthesia for such procedures, Avner underwent at least 14 surgeries. His nose was flattened, his upper lip split, his brow raised with Teflon implants, and his face fitted with titanium studs to snap in nylon whiskers. Then came the full-body tiger stripe tattoos, feline eye contacts, acrylic claws, and even a servo-powered tail. He went by Stalking Cat in furry circles and was officially recognized by Guinness for having the most permanent surgical changes to resemble an animal. He later moved to Whidbey Island, hosting Scritch and Purr meetups, where he'd literally purr through a microphone and talk about identity. But behind the fur, life was hard. Financial troubles forced him to relocate to Tonopah, Nevada. On November 5, 2012, he died by suicide at age 54. Number 5. Devendra Sutar. Devendra Sutar opens the door to his carpentry shop with fingers most of us can't count on both hands, because he has 14 of them, and 14 toes to match. Born with polydactyly in Gujarat, India, Devendra never saw his condition as something to fix. Instead, he saw 28 fully formed jointed digits as 28 advantages. Guinness World Records officially recognized him on November 11, 2014, as the living person with the most fingers and toes, And while his customers call him a walking clamp, he leans into the nickname, opening jars with one hand, sanding wood with spider-like precision, and sketching designs with fingers to spare. His shoes have to be custom-made, and he has to be twice as careful with blades. One wrong move, and the risk doubles. But for Devendra, it's not a burden. Every year on August 29th, journalists and curious onlookers crowd his village for Polydactyly Awareness Day. He performs digit push-ups, balancing his body on the tips of 20 fingers, while children count and cheer. For Devendra, these aren't just extra parts. They're divine gifts. Number 4. Wim Hof. Wim Hof doesn't just survive the cold, he walks straight into it like it owes him money. On January 26, 2007, he ran a full half-marathon barefoot and shirtless above the Arctic Circle in Finland. The temperature was near 0 degrees Fahrenheit, but Hof pushed through 13.1 miles in just over 2 hours. 3 years later, he stood submerged chest-deep in a box filled with 32-degree ice for 44 minutes. Most people would need a hospital. Wim walked out smiling. He credits his ability to control temperature, stress, and even inflammation to what he calls the Wim Hof method, a mix of hyper-focused breathing, cold exposure, and meditation. In 2011, researchers at Radboud University studied him under medical supervision. They saw his adrenaline spike threefold in ice water, and when injected with an endotoxin, his body barely reacted. No fever, no swelling. In 2024, further studies showed his method reduced C-reactive protein levels in both healthy people and those with autoimmune disease. He claims 26 world records, though only one, the icy barefoot marathon, is officially listed by Guinness. Today, Hof trains others, from regular folks to U.S. veterans, leading them up snowy peaks in just shorts. Number 3. Samantha Ramsdell. When Samantha Ramsdell laughs, it doesn't just light up a room, it practically swallows it whole. Born in Maine and based in Connecticut, Samantha once tried hiding her unusually large mouth, even taping it shut in photos as a kid. But everything changed on July 27, 2021, when a dentist in Norwalk measured her jaw. A vertical opening of 2.56 inches and a horizontal stretch of 4.07 inches. Guinness immediately awarded her 2 world records, one for the tallest female mouth gape, the other for the widest. And TikTok couldn't get enough.
All right, 1.
With over 3.8 million followers and more than 124 million likes, fans now watch her fit entire apples, foot-long sandwiches, and even wine bottles behind that jawline. She now tours comedy clubs across the country, turning her once awkward feature into a 6-figure career. Even after an Alaskan engineer named Marie Zelmer Robinson broke the vertical record in April 2025, Ramsdell still holds the width title. Her 4-inch smile is literally wider than a smartphone. Through her podcast Weird and Proud, Samantha reminds everyone that what once felt embarrassing can become your loudest, proudest asset, with the right punchline. Number 2. Byron and Emily Schlenker. Byron Schlenker never set out to be famous. He was just a library volunteer from Syracuse who stuck his tongue out for a Guinness record photo. But when the calipers hit 3.37 inches, it was official. He had the widest tongue in the world, even wider than a baseball. That was back in 2015. Then, 2 years later, his teenage daughter Emily stepped up and claimed the women's title with a tongue measuring 2.89 inches. The Schlenkers became the first-ever parent-child duo to both hold tongue records, and they fully leaned into it. Their favorite trick? Lining up 14 tic-tacs across their tongues without dropping a single one. Byron even trained for it, doing tongue push-ups to build strength. But in 2018, California engineer Brian Thompson overtook him with a 3.49-inch tongue. Emily held on until August 2024, when Houston attorney Brittany Lacayo stretched the record to 3.11 inches, nearly the width of a credit card. Still, the Schlenkers haven't slowed down. They tour state fairs, host peanut butter tongue stretch-offs, and invite kids to burst bubbles with their tongues. Number 1. Julia Gunthal. At 5 feet 9 inches, Julia Gunthal, better known as Zlata, does things with her body that leave people questioning physics. Born in Russia, she bends so far backward, it feels like her spine skipped the memo on limits. In November 2007, she pulled off a move that stunned even the judges. Arching her body backward so tightly, she popped 3 balloons placed behind her shoulders in just 12 seconds. That jaw-dropping stunt earned her a Guinness World Record. But she didn't stop there. In Beijing, 4 years later, she wowed a live audience by balancing on her elbows, feet in the air, and uncapping 8 beer bottles using only her toes in under 60 seconds. Doctors who've studied her spine say her secret lies in her body's rare collagen structure. Her vertebrae rest in highly elastic connective tissue, allowing her to bend almost 180 degrees with no pain. Zlata trains up to 3 hours a day, and now headlines cabaret shows across Europe, sometimes squeezing herself into a see-through cube smaller than a carry-on suitcase. She always ends with the same line, "Bones are overrated," and honestly, in her case, they just might be. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.